Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Corner Office Chats with Mehreen Siddiqui. I'm Mehreen Siddiqui. With me is Alexis Linehan. I'm not going to be Alexis today. I don't know if you remember our very first Corner Office Chats. I think I said, I'm Alexis Linehan. And I said, I'm not Alexis. And I just had a flashback of that. So yeah, we're back today. We're here every week on Thursdays at 1:30 Eastern, and we're talking about leadership. We're talking about clarity. We're talking about high performance. We're talking about what it really takes for us to level up our game. So if you're a leader in your own way, whether it's a CEO of your company, or you're leading your family, or you're leading a team of people, the first thing that we always say that you want to check on is yourself. So today, Alexis, we're talking about what are those 3 things that courageous leaders do.
Yes. And you know what? I think, you have to have courage being a leader these days, whether it's in your life, whether it is in your relationships, or whether it's with your team and in your business. Courage is something that I think people don't often think about when they think about leadership, or they think about leadership as like those big, huge, heroic acts. But we know that it takes courage to show up as our true self every single day in every single situation. It takes courage to speak our truth, to share our true feelings and ideas about different things, about people every day. It's not easy to do. And so there's 3 things that we like to talk about when we're talking about courage in leadership. And the first thing I want to share with you is that courageous leaders have the difficult but necessary conversations. Right? There's always those conversations, whether it is about maybe a team member's performance, maybe it is, you're making a big change and it's going to affect somebody possibly in a negative way. Maybe it's calling somebody out for not showing up. These are difficult conversations to have, but if we want to be that high-performing leader that we know we are, we have to summon the courage and have these conversations so that we can lay it all on the table and then move forward stronger, better, and more improved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. Because when we go day after day and we're avoiding having that conversation, it starts to build up. Sometimes resentment builds up. Sometimes, the what if starts to build up. You start to feel that you're not aligned anymore. You're not connected anymore. Mm-hmm. And what we strive as leaders is to be connected. We want things to flow. We want things to be easy. But doing that requires us to be able to have those difficult conversations and to look at those difficult conversations as a means to get to the other side, mm-hmm. right? As a means to get to the other side. And yes, it may not be a difficult week of conversations. It may be a few moments that you need to, do that. But once you're behind that or past that, that's where new opportunities will open, breakthroughs will happen. That's where you start performing at a whole nother level, not only for yourself, but even for the person that you're having the conversation with. Somebody just said to me at work, they're like, you just called him up and asked? I'm like, I wanted to know and I wanted to ask. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't think it was that difficult of a conversation. Yeah, I called someone that was quite higher up. I wanted to understand the stance on where his stance was on things so that we make sure that we're on the right direction. I didn't want to waste my time. And it was a little bit of a difficult conversation because I had a little bit of pushback. But now that I'm past it, I got to speak what I wanted to say about it. I got to hear where he is coming from. And then we collectively decide, okay, so how about we do this so that we are addressing this and we are doing that. And together we were able to get past it. Most people would not even call that person because he's just not a very approachable person, right? So think about that. Even with your spouse, Alexis, I'm dealing with something. I need to have a difficult conversation with my husband about something, and I've been avoiding it. And my coach has been calling me out on it every time we talk. And I'm like, I'm just not ready to talk about something that happened so long ago. And she goes, but you brought it up. Mm-hmm. It's in your space. And I was like, you're right, it is. And because I don't want him to feel a certain way, I don't want him to think it has anything to do with him. She goes, you've already made this entire scenario, and we do this, right? We coach our leaders, but we personally are always growing. And what I realize is that I'm avoiding something because I don't know how he will receive it on that end. But who knows? He may be very compassionate about it. He may be willing, he may feel the exact same way about something. And it has nothing to do with us, about something mutually that we've, dealt with, but it's kind of in the past, but there's something that's bothering me about it. So it's sitting there in my forefront, right? Every time I look at it, I was like, I need to talk to him about that. Oh, and right now is not a good time. There's never really a good time. And even last night I said, hey, I needed to talk to you about something. My daughter was in the living room. I didn't want to bring it up. I think he was waiting for me to bring it up. I didn't even say, to my daughter, can you go upstairs so we can have a conversation? I just was like, yeah, I'm just not going to have a conversation since she's here. That's how we avoided Alexis. This is what happens. And now what's left is he's wondering what I wanted to talk about. I'm over here like, oh God, I got to bring it up tonight, right? And all that's going to happen is once we have that conversation, get past it, probably it's not even a big deal that I brought up that's in my head. I think it's that I just don't know how to express it. Maybe I don't know how I want to express it.
And you said something. And so, I'm going to ask you permission to coach you here for a second. Because, you had said, and we do this, right? We're coaches, but we also need coaches. So, you had said, I'm worried about how he's going to react. I don't know how he's going to take it. And here's the thing. When you put yourself in your own intention and you focus more on why you want to have this conversation, what your intention is, and how you want this conversation to serve him and to serve your relationship. Now you're in your own mind. You're out of, because you don't know how he's going to react, right? Sometimes we think we're going to know, and then our partners, even though we know them well, they kind of they throw a curveball at us. But when you focus on what your intention going in, and you have the best of intentions in having this conversation, it doesn't matter what the reaction is going to be because you can't predict it anyways. Yeah. Right. So our time is better spent planning the difficult conversation, focusing on our intention and the desired outcome, but focusing more on how are we going to show up to make sure we reach that desired outcome, right? If you have to have a difficult conversation as a leader with your team member, and you have to maybe their work hasn't been up to par lately. Maybe they made a mistake and you need to have the conversation so that it doesn't happen again. But your intention is not to fire them. Your intention is not to belittle them or make them feel bad. Your intention is to share the information so that you can course correct, you can allow them to improve in their skill set, and you don't make the same mistake twice. So that's a different conversation than just going in and being like, you did this wrong and this is what happened, right? So one kind of tip for having these difficult conversations is focus on your intention and what your desired outcome is, and it makes the conversations a lot easier to have.
You're absolutely right. And I will have the conversation tonight. It's already done. It's going to happen. And that's what I'm going to take on is how is it that I'm going to start that, what intentions I'm going to bring. And I can even say to him, like, look, this has been lurking over and I've been avoiding it. So it's very difficult for me to even bring up, but I would really want to just get it off my chest and just get your opinion about it. And I don't know what I want out of the outcome. Maybe there is no intent. I just want to have the conversation. And that'll give him some freedom to speak whatever he wants to speak about it.
Yeah. And sometimes sharing that, hey, this feels like it's going to be a bit of a tough conversation, but it's important enough and I care about you enough that I want to have it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try and dance around it, and how can we word it perfectly when all we have to do is just acknowledge the elephant in the room, acknowledge that this is going to be uncomfortable for a few minutes, but there's a better result that lies ahead for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is a big one. Number 2, want to move on to number 2?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. They ask for help.
Yes, this is tough for a lot of leaders, right? We feel sometimes like we've gotten to the position that we're at because we've done it all ourselves, or because we have all the answers, or because we know all the things. We don't, right? And it's okay to share that. It's okay to ask for help and say, hey, you know what, this isn't my area of expertise, or do you know what? I've taken on a lot and I need your help. People in general want to help other people. We don't often give them the chance as leaders.
This is something that I've struggled with with my, development of myself. I've always been told that you need to sometimes ask for help, because I've always had to do it myself, right? I don't know who else also can relate to this, who's out there, but I'm being the eldest of 5 siblings, where there's 5 of us. So I'm the eldest, so I always had to just take care of it. It was always, I had a little bit of a dysfunctional, not a little bit, a lot dysfunctional upbringing. So there was nobody, there was no, your mom is coming, or your dad's coming, or somebody's going to come and help you. I had to figure it out. So what has happened is I may be a great leader, but sometimes what happens is my fallback is that it's hard for me to ask for help when I really need help. And that's been a struggle. And if any of you that have dealt with that, it doesn't mean that there's anything less of you. And that's what I have to remind myself. My husband says to me, he's like, I don't even know how to help you. I'm like, I don't need help. I don't need your help. And he's like, but I want to be able to support you. And then that's a whole nother way of looking at it. Support, right? Going from help to support. If you need some support, sometimes you have to let other people know how they can support you. And so he knows. We've had the conversation. I've said to him, I was like, I don't like the help. I feel like I can do it all. I'm very independent, but I do need support on these things. And he's like, you got it. He's like, thanks for letting me know. I was like, oh, that was easy. I asked for help, and he said he will help me.
And think about the experience on your team, right? Who doesn't want to help the boss? Who doesn't want to feel like they're an integral part of the success of the business? So when you allow other people to support you, to support your mission, to support your vision, you get their buy-in. They're going to be a more productive employee. They're going to be a happier employee. They're going to be a more efficient employee. So you got to think of that larger scale, is that, like I said, people want to help, but they also want to feel like they have a role, whether that's in a family, in a relationship, in a team. They want to feel like they have a part to play. And that's when amazing things happen. That's when we move from that small potential of the things we can achieve on our own to the big potential of what we can achieve together.
Yeah. So ask yourself, like, who can you ask for help? Where are you stuck? And I'm sure that you don't need to know the how. It's the who. Who can you go to, and that you can reach out and say, I'm looking for some support around this, or what is it? I've seen that you've done this. I'm a little stuck. Could you give me like 2 minutes of your time to support me on this? So give me some guidance on where I need to go. You'll be surprised. Sometimes they'll step even further and beyond and say, you know what? Why don't we set up a call for an hour or a couple hours, or spend a half day, and I'll walk you through the whole thing. You just never know what people are willing to offer. You have to ask.
Yes.
All right.
Number three, courageous leaders, they ask for feedback. This is sometimes a tough pill to swallow, but it is so necessary. If you're in a leadership position right now, whether you're a business owner and you're running your own business, or you're in corporate, or you're in a job where you're managing others, have you ever asked for feedback on your leadership from your team? It is a hard thing to do, but like I said, it is a necessary step to upping your leadership game, being able to be able to contribute so much more value to your team, to your clients, to your business, to your company. And when you ask for the feedback, it's not enough to just ask. You might send out the survey once a year or in the annual performance review, but then actually listen to the feedback that's coming in your direction, right? And be mindful of what comes up for you. Sometimes we get really defensive if there's some constructive feedback in there. Everyone wants to hear, you're wonderful, we love you, everything's great, you're awesome. And I like that too, don't get me wrong, but I really value when a team player shares with me an area that maybe has been an oversight, or an area that I could improve upon. It might take that first, swallow it down, but then you have to listen, and you have to really search for the truth in it, right? Like, if they're sharing that with you, there's a reason. So how can you take that information on board and make the appropriate changes?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, when you're taking a listen, sometimes if you're afraid to take any feedback, right? You're not courageous enough to actually ask for some feedback, then take a listen of what people are saying around you. Are they saying, well, you never listen? Or are they frustrated? Are they always saying no? Sometimes it's a mirror image of what we are doing as well, right? So if they're, or you're feeling like people around you aren't listening, also take a look at that. Are you listening? If other people around you are saying, ignoring you, take a listen and see, are you ignoring others? Are people saying no to you all the time? Are you saying no to others? Because a lot of times we attract what we're also putting out there.
Yes.
I mean, this is really deep, but really think about it. I want you to really reflect back. How are your conversations? How are your interactions? And then also take a step back and witness yourself. How is it that you're coming across? Because it could be you're getting back what you are also putting out there.
Yeah, I have a quick story to share on this. Is that, so I'm a college professor as well, and I teach in the business department. And when my first kind of semester came, we have semester reviews. Students fill out the form, and there's all these different areas on the content of the course and on the instructor, like the instructor reviews. And I remember I was having a conversation with a few of the seasoned profs that were there. And I said, oh, so like, how do I access the results? And how, like, you know, will I be able to see comments and all that stuff? And one of them said, don't even look at them. Don't even bother looking at it. Just look at your overall rating and that's it. Because you know what? The students they just say they don't like your shoes and blah, blah, blah. And I immediately thought, like, I was looking for the feedback because it was my first time in this particular college with a certain kind of course. So I was looking for I wanted to improve next semester. And I remember thinking, like, if this instructor never looks at her feedback, how is she ever going to improve? And, and then I had another friend, another fellow business prof say, like, take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes they want to hold a grudge and blah, 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 or they make a personal attack, which I was fully prepared for. You may not like my hair, you may not like my shoes. I get it. But I remember going through and seeing a comment from a student who said, great scores, because they score on a 1 to 5, but they had said, I love the content, but sometimes you talk really quickly and English isn't my first language. And sometimes I have a hard time following. And I remember thinking, that was something. I pride myself on building my curriculum to reach a diverse audience. I spent a lot of time myself studying psychology and studying, the way people learn. And so I know some of us are visual, some of us are auditory, some of us are kinesthetic. So I intentionally tried to build out every single lecture with that in mind. And what I had forgotten was, in my excitement, I talk really quick when I get excited. And I never thought about, students who English isn't their first language, struggling with the language, number one, but two is the speed at which I talk. And they're missing valuable lessons there because of how I am presenting it. So that really was like, I was like, oh my gosh. So that was like such a valuable piece of feedback. And I didn't sit there and beat myself up and say, oh, I should have known that. No, it was something that now moving forward, I'm a lot more aware of how many international students do I have sitting in my class. Maybe I'm going to take a few minutes and actually consciously slow down my pace. Maybe I'm going to check in a little bit more. Maybe I'm going to give them, a package to take home with the notes or whatever it is, or now we can access it all online, but this was quite a few years ago. So it really made me think for the better. And I didn't sit there and say, no, I don't. If you can't understand, I didn't take offense to it. You have to listen so that you can improve moving forward. Yeah,
for sure. This is really great, valuable information you're giving right here. So for those of you who are listening, really take the feedback with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. You also want to make sure that you're listening or taking it from people you trust as well. Okay. You do want to make sure that you're asking from people that you value, that you respect, because they are most likely to give you that honest feedback that you need to level up your game, and they want to see you succeed. But if you know that they're always criticizing people, they always have something negative to say, then that's probably not somebody you necessarily want to get that feedback from. You can take a listen, but you get to choose what you want to apply to yourself, and really take a step back and say, if I was to change based off of this feedback, how would it improve me and how others perceive me, or how I show up as a leader? Okay. So really take a look at that for yourself and watch yourself level up. So all really good. These are the 3 top things that we wanted to bring up. How you can show up as a courageous leader. You can adapt these. You don't have to, or you can. And so it's up to you. Try one of them. The first one that we talked about was having the difficult conversations. If there's a conversation that you really wanting to have with someone, have the conversation, get past it, and you may be surprised how it comes in. Walk in with some good intentions. Let them know that this is a difficult conversation for you to have. You'll be surprised they may be more willing to receive it and give you honest feedback, or whatever conversation you want to have, right? The second thing we talked about is asking for help. To really show up as a courageous leader, you want to be okay with asking for support or for help, and being open to it, and not making it feel like that you're in. For me, it's, I don't want to burden anyone. For some, it makes them feel that maybe they don't have the confidence. For me, it's not so much of the confidence, but it's more that, oh, they're busy, they don't have time for me. But that comes from that childhood conversation that I have, that I don't matter. But really, I do matter. And if they do want to give me the time of day, they will make the time of day. So it's witness how you're approaching that, right? The third thing we said is they ask for feedback and listen. So when you're asking for the feedback, you're also listening, and really listening in a new way to listen outside, like witnessing how you're listening to it. Are you getting defensive? Are you getting upset? Or are you looking at it as if, okay, how can this feedback help me? And then go from there. So, and if you're struggling with that, give us a call. We can help you. There's times that I've gotten feedback. I ran it by Alexis. I'm like, what the heck? Why'd they say that? And she's like, well, maybe this is what they meant. I'm like, oh, okay. Our first response sometimes is to be defensive, right? Like, well, who are they to tell me? They don't know my intentions, but maybe on the other end it was received differently. So we can be responsible for who we're being, how we're taking things, and that's what leadership is about. Okay, when you start to do that, people around you will also show up the same way. Notice how that when you shift, your world starts to shift. That's what we talk when you're talking about manifestation. It all starts with you. You can't control anything else but yourself, and that's where things starts to shift for you. So thank you so much, Alexis, for coming on today and talking about these 3 things that these courageous leaders do, and sharing with others how they can adopt it. Yeah. That's it today for the Corner Office Chats. We'll be back again next Thursday at 1:30 Eastern, as we always are. And if you're looking to learn more about us or connect with us, you can join our Facebook group, Women Who Lead, if you're not here already. You may be listening to us on on YouTube, or on our Goal Set Coach page. But if you really want to get intimate and really get into our community, join our Women Who Lead group. We'd love to have you there. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening.